Hi, this is Andrew Sears, and welcome to week 3 of Introduction to Nonprofit and Ministry Management. This week we're going to be focusing on the control quadrant, which covers governance, financial, accounting, and operational skills. So if you are in an organizational unit that is focused on operations and financial management in your organization, and you did the OCAI, the organizational assessment profile for your unit, it's probably going to look like this. You're going to be very focused on control and, not as focused on, being entrepreneurial. Again, to try to tie this quadrant in with the courses we offer, this would be our board development course. This would be our financial accounting course and our project management course. Those are all control functions in an organization. So helping you understand what is this quadrant, what's the role of this quadrant, each organization has performance outcomes. So the performance outcomes, say you're in a business and you're in the control quadrant, it might be percent of on-time deliveries, total internal cost savings, improvement on error defection rate, percent reduction in redundancy or waste, measures of reduced cycle time, measures of quality improvement. So in a nonprofit, what that's really going to look like is, you could be doing cost savings. You could not have any audit findings. You could have, low error rate in your accounting. You could have, governance checklists that you go through that you make sure that you're, achieving all of those things. So that's some of the performance outcomes you would have in this quadrant. Are you actually following all your policies and procedures? Do you have policies and procedures for key factors? Now, how do you have organizational improvement in this quadrant? Usually what you're going to be doing is you're going to be analyzing internal processes. A lot of times you'll try to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of processes. And you're going to have careful change in budgets to guide the process. You'll have a step-by-step process for that, and you're going to try to, any sort of change, you're going to try to minimize disruption in the workflow. So these are all incremental change. So it might be, you're trying to make the organization 2% more efficient or, 5% more efficient. Now, the other is how do you communicate and lead in this quadrant? So, one thing that you have to do well is, say you're supervising people. You need to break apart large, complex tasks into small, simple tasks. You're going to create a great, standard operating procedure manual and, really effective, detailed training. Provide information to everyone that's involved, and making sure that there's adequate time, space, and financial resources. You're the people that whenever someone says, we're going to fly to the moon, you're the one that comes up with the project plan that has, 40,000 steps in it to get there, right? And, trying to make sure that everything's consistent, everyone's following, procedures is a lot of what this week's focused on. Now, there's a big tension often between the operations mindset and the entrepreneurial mindset. The entrepreneurs want to, not have any rules, and your job is to create policies and to enforce those policies. And that does actually slow innovation, but it can make the organization more efficient and fair in many ways. So now, one of the challenges, though, is there a fit with your organization and its market? So as I mentioned before, if you're in a market that almost never changes, and this is the profile of your organization as a whole, then this may be fine. So I mentioned the example of a paper mill. But if you're in the high-tech industry or a nonprofit where things are rapidly changing, then this is going to be problematic. So, and ultimately, the risk of imbalance here is you might have too much micromanagement, too much, procedure rigidity, too much bureaucracy, overregulation, iron-bound tradition. So you have this stifling bureaucracy, and the risk, I was a little surprised whenever I saw that they say that the risk is catastrophic failure. What that really means is often in businesses, it means that you go bankrupt because you just aren't innovative enough and you get replaced. In nonprofits, I think that could be being replaced culturally. People just say you're no longer culturally relevant. And, it's more common in a church that has, been around for 100 years, and suddenly you find all the members are older than 70 years old because you've been doing it the same way for the past 100 years. And then, ultimately you might need to shut down the organization because you can't balance the budget. So that becomes a challenge. So as a leader, what you're trying to do is you're trying to balance your own skills, so you can, find a middle ground between too little outside input. And what I found, a lot of people who work in the control quadrant, they know all the rules and they think, I don't need to learn anything outside of that happens. But the reality is that's probably true within their quadrant, but they often do not know about the other quadrants. And one of the challenges for people who are more entrepreneurial is, they take in, they're always continuing to take in, more information. They say, let's not make a decision, let's get more information. So from a Myers-Briggs perspective, that's a Myers-Briggs P, if you're familiar with that, or a Myers-Briggs J. And ultimately what you want is someone who's both humble and teachable and confident and assured in developing, integration there. Now, there's also this balance between creating control to lead with practical vision. And, this is, are you focused on the forest or the trees often? So, you may be too focused on details, so the big picture vision's missed. So that would be if you're a Myers-Briggs SJ, so you're focused on reason and logic, looking at the details, but you don't want to dream. But then you have the dreamers that don't look at the details, that technically it's not possible to take a rocket to Mars right now. So you want to get a leader who's both practical and visionary. So that's it for this week. If you have additional questions, please ask your faculty. We do have another session lecture for this week, so be sure to watch that one also.